Recorded live on the North Coast, Scotty Does a Show with guest Chris Vondruska, plus news, movie reviews, today's top 5 and more. Now, working without a net, Scott Marion.
All right, what's up, everybody? What's happening? What it is? What's going down? What is the word on the street? Welcome to the show, here where we keep our ears to the ground and our fingers on the pulse of what's happening out there in the world. I am your host. You can call me Coach. You can call me Scott. You can call me Coach Scott. No reason to call me sir unless, of course, you owe me money. Mr. Marion, if you're nasty. All right, real quick, just want to talk about some of the things that are going on. Again, special shout out to John Robb coming on the show last time. If you are in the Northeast Ohio area, check out their band Dirt. Awesome, fun time. Matter of fact, I heard from John. We recorded the show a couple days before he did his show on Saturday, this past Saturday, and he had an amazing time. I don't want to say the only reason why he had an amazing time and had a great turnout was because he was on my show. But of course, it was because he was on my show. He had an amazing turnout. But anyway, if you have a chance to, definitely check them out. Great band, a lot of fun. And again, with light of hopefully things to be leveling off with the COVID situation, having crowds come back, it's awesome to see. Which brings me to, and again, wherever anybody sits on the vaccination, not getting vaccination, look, the bottom line is, I've been vaccinated. I've also been fortunate to not have been that sick. You know, we talked about it on the show. John shared some things that he went through. If you're going to do it to save somebody else's life, is it worth it? I look at it that way. And again, the great news is things seem to be lightening up with that. Speaking of which, just the other day, I went to a local shop here in Vermilion. Shout out to Rudy's Bar and Grill. Matter of fact, that was the place that we were at when we found out that things were getting shut down last year, which was ironic. But walked in there last night, get some takeout. I walk in there wearing a mask, and everybody rubbernecked and looked at me like I had two heads because I was the only one in there wearing a mask. So again, wherever you sit on this issue, I understand and I feel for you, but it was nice to have a piece of normalcy. I walked in and I asked the lady, you know, what's the rule? She just kind of laughed at me, and it was really cool. But also the psychology about that is it was neat because I waited for about maybe 3 to 5 minutes for the food to come out. And in that time that I was in there, the 3 to 5 people that walked in the front door, I of course rubberneck and looked to see if they're wearing masks as well, and one of them was, and it was instantly I went from being the outsider to I'm part of the group. So it was really cool to experience that. And again, for everybody out there that has been sick with this, I wish you all the speediest recovery and hope everybody's safe out there. But it was really cool to literally be or figuratively slapped in the face with some good news and reality with that. So that was really cool. No masks. Let's see this keep going. Let's see things keep getting progressed. Let's see people getting better. Hopefully this is leveling off and really leads into, you know, not only having people come out for crowds and concerts and things this spring and summer, but also leading into, this is going to lead into my guest here today, having full crowds back for sporting events. In particular, not just the big paying events like we've seen, which I'm going to talk about one here in a second, but most importantly for the kids. For getting high school age kids and younger to get out there to compete. Part of what makes our sports, in particular combat sports, so interesting is you're going out there and you have to do that in front of a crowd. It changes things when it's quiet in there. We've seen it in the UFC over the last year with the difference between crowds and no crowds. Although the action in the ring or on the mat can be sometimes as great or better, it's an environment, it's a scene. So being able to see that come back is awesome. Which brings me to the UFC 262 recap. For those of you keeping score at home, I did not do the Fight Companion, but between the Fight Companion on 261 and this last one, I am 6-1 on my predictions, going 2-0 on the 262. And again, I would have had no problem at all with Tony winning. and with Michael Chandler winning, but unfortunately, Dariush and Oliveira, they were just on a different level, and it was just awesome to see the crowd again. Just and Charles Oliveira, you talk about a guy. I talked about it in the show briefly. 10 years in the UFC, 21 years old when he makes it in, known as this ground guy, but just through hard work, determination, has made himself into he's got the belt. So right now he's got a piece of metal around his waist that says he's the best in the world. So if that's not inspiring, and again, you can go jump on YouTube here and see some of the videos of Charles since he went back home to Brazil and they're celebrating. It's just awesome. It could not happen for a better guy. Again, being around the sport as long as I have, I can't find anybody to say anything bad about the guy. His not only his performance, but his work ethic, and most importantly to me, I guess especially as I get older, is I can't hear anything bad about him as a man. And I can say the same thing with Michael Chandler. And if there's a guy that will rise up and get another shot and maybe get that belt, it's Chandler. That guy will not be broke. So it's just awesome to see, and congratulations to all the fighters. There's some great stuff coming up again soon. I'll keep everybody posted on that. So, which brings me to bringing my guest in here today. The one of the coolest things about just being involved in, of course I'm going to be biased, but being involved with sports, in particular combat sports, there's a kinship and there's a respect that you just don't get in other sports. Meaning, I had the opportunity to coach against this guy a few times. Proud to say I don't think I lost any big matches coaching against him. Maybe I did. But the cool thing about being involved in these types of sports is you'll go out there and you'll compete against somebody and probably genuinely don't like them. You know, again, wrestling, it is a sport, but make no mistake, it's a fight. There's just rules to it. So to go out there and more or less be in your underwear in front of a crowd and beat somebody with your bare hands, it's tough to take when you get beat. And sometimes it's tough to take when you win, and you lose matches that you should win, and you win matches you should lose, and all that. And there's an incredible amount of emotional energy that goes involved with that. And you'll look across from somebody, and you kind of give them, the stink face, and not like them, and mean mug them. And sometimes the rare occasion those rivalries continue, but more often than not, there's a respect and an honor there. My theory as a coach and as a competitor, if we agree to date, time, location, weight class, rules, neutral referee, and you go out there and you fight me or one of my athletes hard and with honor and abide by those rules, and you beat me or beat one of my athletes, I'm going to shake your hand. Or post-fight, buy you a beer, whatever the case is. It's, there were guys that I competed against and competed with that I genuinely didn't like, but if I run into them now, happen to be at Rudy's down the street or something, actually happened. I ran into somebody there who was a part of the sport, and next thing I'm getting them a beer and we're chatting. So it's interesting how relationships can come full circle, but also not only is there a respect for being out there to compete, but I've had the opportunity to get to know this man and his program inside and out. I actually did a special on them last year. If you go to the Ohio Wrestling Insider page here on YouTube, you'll see the special. It's called Hard as a Rock, which is new for me, doing these documentary styles, but it was really a lot of fun. The thing I loved about it is Chris was very forthcoming, and it shows. And it was actually, out of that season, it was my favorite out of the specials that I did about a particular team or coach. It was really a lot of fun. But again, even when I was coaching at Elyria Catholic, I had the opportunity to come to Keystone a couple times to train. Again, I was fortunate to have a small team, so when I would show up, even if we're limited on space, I'm only bringing a handful of guys, so we was able to take advantage of that. So, again, my guest here today, Chris, he's the head coach of Keystone High School Wrestling, and they just won the LCA championship. And again, for those of you at home, I was able to be at the LCA championship. Actually got to win the championship in his home gym this year. They were, I believe, runner-up the year before when we were at Wellington. That's where we debuted the Thunder Live show. I'm sure we'll chat about that a little bit. It was awesome for me to bring in just a lot of fun for the kids. But he had a championship run this year in his home gym. I was fortunate to be able to be there, even with the COVID situation, and I was able to shoot the film on that. And I'll put the link up here for that. so you can check out the highlights of that tournament. But also, I had all the matches are going to be what's the word I'm looking for? Track listed out, so you can go match by match and check it out. But it was really cool to see him win the tournament there. And I mean, again, I could sit here. I say this all the time. I'm just very fortunate to have just a great list of awesome guests that come in here and share their experiences. But none better than this guy. And I could sit here and praise him all day long. But without further ado, the head coach of Keystone, CHRIS VONDRUSKA. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate coming on. Like I said, this is my first podcast, so really excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, everybody remembers their first time. It's and you know, these are new for me as far as making these podcasts. But again, the thing that is fun, and I say it every time, I get to have people on that I know. I get to have people on I've had relationships with. But I always get to learn something, and to me, that's what sets this apart. You're how many years you been head coach at Keystone now?
That just finished my 6th year.
6. Okay, I was going to say 5. Okay, and you. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe 4 out of the 6 years you qualified to the state tournament. You had somebody. Or is it 5 out of 6?
5 out of 6.
That's right.
Yeah. So just what was it? Hickman's sophomore year, we thought he was a match away from going, but he qualified last year as a junior.
Yep.
Wasn't able to compete there.
That experience. I mean, you guys were actually in Columbus, right? You were, because Nick qualified. And again, for those of you at home, when things locked down last year, in our sport, there's a grind. You know, you hear the saying, "Embrace the grind," and it's not a glorious sport, and the goal every kid has is to make it to that state tournament.
Sure.
And making it to the state tournament, which I've talked about here before, it's an amazing experience. But then you got to compete, and to not have that opportunity to scratch and fight and claw. And like you said, Nick was a match away his sophomore year, junior year qualifies. Mm-hmm. You guys are there the day before the tournament starts, and they pull the plug.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is where, again, I would have loved to have been still coaching, would have loved to have been on the way down to the state tournament, but to have that rug pulled out from underneath you, like what was that like? What was that like for Nick?
I mean, he dealt with it really well. I mean, we got you know, Ryan Healy, another one of our seniors, they just deal with adversity very good, or I mean, at least they show that to me, you know, the way they you know, deal with losing or whatever. But yeah, it was just a really tough conversation for me to have with him, you know, because I got the news before, and we're all kind of on our phones, and yeah, I got the news first, and you know, I just looked at the guys, and Nick was the only qualifier, but we had some other guys down there to drill with him and to take some video and stuff like that. Yeah. So I just kind of looked at him. I said, "Hey, we're going home right now." And they're like, "What?" And then, you know, on the car ride home, it's kind of talking about, well, is it postponed? Because at that point it was postponed, or is it canceled? And so it was postponed. I said, all right, Nick, either way, you know.
Yeah, was there initial plans? Was there talk? Were they? There was
no plans. It just said postponed, right? Okay. And so we developed a plan. It's like, hey, we're going to take 2 weeks off, because that was the plan. Like, all schools are taking 2 weeks off, and you know, all events are going to be 2 weeks. I said, so we'll take 2 weeks off, and then you know, we'll reevaluate. And obviously, as we know, things
it's been a long 2 weeks.
It has been a long 2 weeks.
Again, wherever anybody sits on the political side of this, now I'm just, you know, trying to make light as much as we can.
Right.
Again, to be there. I mean, the goal is to get there, to compete, and then told you're not able to. And some kids, they never get that opportunity, or they get that opportunity and they're a senior. You know, it's you look at like the one Burnett kid at Elyria didn't have a chance to defend his title,
right? And
so it's like we say it, and I've said it on the show here. It's the agony and ecstasy, and when you win, you know, when you win that blood round and you get to qualify to the state tournament. I mean, your feet don't feel like they're touching the ground. It's amazing. But then the flip side of that, you lose that match, and it can be just heart-wrenching.
Right.
So which is something you prepare for. You know, there's always a real possibility. I mean, speak about Ryan. to be that close and to to reach out and almost touch that brass ring and
twice. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a feeling that's, again, agony and ecstasy. It's a very, like, to use what you're saying, credit these kids for just being inspiring and tough to power through that, because I know that as competitors, we all share those private moments, when the doors close and you're there and you can be emotional.
Yeah.
But as a coach, there are times, I had my good friend Dan on here, the police officer, and he talked about how he would have to, turn things on and off when he'd be in front of his family. We get to do that as coach, again, at much lower level because he's dealing with life and death. But when you're talking about, again, there are some times as coaches when we go in knowing our kid has to wrestle the best kid in the country. And you never want to say, hey, good luck, and pat him on the butt and sit back and just roll your eyes. You can't do that.
No.
Even if there's part of us that wants to. You can't do that. It's impossible. Because, the way that we're taught is go out there and wrestle. And there are times that, we have to keep that in check, or if there's a bad call. And again, there are times in our sport where I don't like pointing fingers at the referee and saying it's this person's fault, but there are times, that there are, and we see it in professional mixed martial arts stuff where maybe that was a questionable stoppage, or maybe they should have let it go longer. There's always that human error, and we have to keep that in check. So when you've got, kids at the state tournament, I know your heart is broken just as well.
For sure.
So when you see a kid like Ryan, who, again, I had the opportunity to work with your kids off season, and some of those kids stand out, and it's not a coincidence that the kids that stand out during the training are the kids that stand out during the season. So for anybody out there that does not understand that, it's the way it works. If you bust your butt, you're going to get results. And one of the greatest things about our sport is, you learn delayed gratification. What you drill today will pay off 18 months from now.
It's got to be every day.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember that, the thing that I was impressed when I would come and bring my kids to your practices, and same thing to be said, shout out to Eric at Illyria, same thing when we go train theirs. If there was something that you wanted me to show or get involved with, it was cool, but I never really had to, because you guys there's, like you get around some coaches and there's just, it's a free for all, it's a Wild West in their practices, and you'll see the stud of the teams kind of doing whatever they want to do, and it's chaotic sometimes. I never experienced that at all. So it was that when you praise your kids, for that ability to keep rising after you've been knocked down. And when I see your practices run the way they are, that's all a take on you. So when they say attitude is a reflection of leadership, we as coaches, sometimes we don't get thanked as much as we should. So you deserve credit for that. So
I appreciate that. It's big credit to the parents too.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're just they kind of instill that, and if they don't, then it's our job to teach them. But it's a lot easier if they do, for sure.
Oh yeah, we're not just coaching kids; we're coaching parents and staff and faculty and everybody. That's and to be fair, the time that I spent around the parents of the kids that you have, which is minimal, because I'm not part of your program, but just couldn't be more respectful. And when I was in the school to do the filming things, everybody just was very appreciative. So again, to a couple more of your kids like Jose and a couple of the other kids, they remembered me from the year before when I came in and did the video, and they saw me running around like a madman at the conference tournament. But I have nothing but good things to say about your whole team.
There's good people at Keystone for sure, and they recognize good people like you and people that are working hard and people that are trying to promote the sport and trying to help our guys out. So we appreciate all that you do, man.
Well, I appreciate it. It's passion. I love it.
Yeah.
It's not a secret. I think it's the most exciting sport in the world. And like when we did the conference tournament at Wellington, we brought the Thunder Live show.
It was so awesome.
Thank you. It was. I looked at it this way. I was talking to Coach Waters about it before the show went off, and I said to him, when we were 16, if there would have been somebody in their 40s that could have done this for us, I mean, holy cow! I mean, who wouldn't have loved that? And we did our version of that with a DJ set up in a strobe light. It wasn't quite what we had at Wellington, but again, for some of these kids, when they're done with high school, most of them will probably never compete again.
You're right.
So give them something.
Mm-hmm.
Make them feel special. And to me, my ulterior motives, if you will, is number one, I want to put on a good show to promote what I'm doing, of course, but also this is the most exciting sport in the world. And I've lost track of people I've known as adults that have never been to a high school wrestling match. And then when they do, there's that holy shit moment. This is amazing.
Right.
Again, when you go to the blood round. Go to the second day of districts. I don't care where you live,
right,
and just watch that consolation round.
Yeah.
If that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will. So when we already have the most exciting sport in the world, let's put a big package around it, make these kids feel special, and bring fans out.
Right.
I want it to be packed.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing like a packed gym. When we did to the girls match, that was Miami East against Olentangy Orange.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a real energy in that gym, and because it was a special event, but the energy was because it was packed. Our sport, again, you can sit there. Some of the best matches I've ever seen were in the practice room.
Yeah.
But when you have a crowd and I mean, again, at the state tournament, the highest level that we have, it's amazing when it's just jam. When you've got 10 to 15,000 people there, and it's the state finals, and there's a big move, and everybody there's a big thud, there's the it's amazing, and you can replicate that in the gym. So when we had that opportunity to do that at Wellington, it was awesome. And by the way, I want to give Chris credit for that. Even though I've done, I don't know how many live shows throughout my career, weddings, bar mitzvahs, dances, all the way up to wrestling events. Even though I've done so many of those, I was not fully prepared. And if you watch that, when the show started, I actually had my notes. It was a bad mistake. And again, this is me.
Pitch black gym, right?
Yeah. I couldn't see anything at all. And Chris comes up to me, hands me his phone, so I'm using his phone as a light so I can call off the
That's pretty good memory. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen the Thunder Live show he's talking about, I got to promote it for him because it was just really cool event. I mean, just courtesy to you to even have an idea to put on an event like that. It was just really, really special, and we had an awesome opportunity not only to showcase it for the fans, which were mainly parents, but also for the middle school, because we had the conference middle school and high school tournament together. So all of those guys got to see it. And so that kind of helps us on the turnover side of it, the middle school guys see it. Yeah, it's like, oh, they made it special for the high school guys. I got to stay around for this. So it was just really special with all the lights and the smoke and the kids running out and
well, we're just getting started.
Atmosphere.
Cool.
Sweet.
That was I mean, of course, it was a bit of an experiment, but thank you for saying that. It was again, if there's no substance, you can put all the package in the big bow on it that you want, but if there's no substance there's not going to be. What made it special was great wrestling before and then great wrestling after. If you can't do a live show like that for a chess tournament, it just doesn't work. Even though, not to give anybody, chess can be very exciting. It absolutely can, but you're not getting picked up off the ground and tossed on your back in a chess game. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen like that. So to put that kind of pomp and circumstance on a sport that's maybe every bit as competitive but a little less crowd exciting doesn't work. So to do it for wrestling just makes sense. Mm-hmm. And we want to be able to, with again keeping fingers crossed with the crowds coming back this year, we want to continue the Thunder Live and really put on a special event like you guys did. You were at Brunswick for the duel in
Oh.
school. You were talking about that the show they put on was pretty amazing.
Amazing event. Yeah, the athletic director there, just a super organized guy. And our athletic director is coming from Brunswick, so they communicate really well. So we had no clue what we were walking into at all. We walked into this gym and it was empty, and then all of a sudden, in 3 minutes, this gym is full, and it is a party, and it is an organized party that that they constructed in their favor, and talk about events that are going to prepare you for the state tournament.
Oh yeah.
Right. That's why we did that. And then Nick didn't get to go to the state tournament. I mean, he was ready. I mean, if you can win in that environment or just compete at your best level, who cares about winning? Just compete, right? You're going to be fine, at all levels. So.
And it adds that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And there's in our sport, and it goes all the way up to one-on-one combat sports. Same thing in the UFC. When I took those fighters to Curacao 3 years ago, I mean, it was an amazing experience. And there's all this, you get caught up into the sun and the surf, and I mean it's amazing. Yeah. But the bottom line, what I told those guys is, look, you understand, 80% of these people want to see you unconscious.
Yeah.
So that's a factor.
Right.
So when you're in an environment like that, where the gym's going crazy and the kids are going crazy and they have a show going on, and you walk in as the visiting team, and you got a bunch of teenagers on your team, that's a lot to take. Mm-hmm. That can be hard to digest. It can be very intimidating. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I remember you said that before. There was just like that holy shit, what do we walk into moment. But the word is on the street that they're coming to your school.
Yeah, they are. So they were supposed to come this year. We had our best team in years. First time we won conference in a long time. The duels and the tournament. So we had 5 seniors that'd been wrestling for 6 years. They've been coming up through the middle school program. They're all gone, right? So now it's going to be, well, what's Brunswick going to have? What are we going to have? Well, I know we're going to have a bunch of sophomores, a bunch of freshmen, 2 juniors and 2 seniors. That's going to be our team next year, and we're adding in some girls too. So, but yeah, it's going to be an exciting event. Like I said, our AD is all over it, and we're kind of modeling over what we saw at Brunswick. We went to Normandy in Parma, and they did a really good show too. So just take some things and take away some things and just involve as many people in our school as you can.
Well, I've said it to you privately, and I'm going to say it here publicly. You want Thunder Live at your gym?
We
will be there.
It's on, man.
And we're going to put on a show.
Cool.
And again, for anybody out there who's not really sure, I do have a real quick promo video. I'm going to show you real quick about what we did at Thunder Live. So go ahead and just watch this real quick. go. That's what you're going to see, or at least a little taste of what you're going to see. But like Coach is saying here, Keystone, time for you guys to rise. Brunswick, okay, you guys set the bar, and I wasn't there. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I love hearing that. I love seeing that. We're going to top it.
That's right.
We're going to top it. And again, the reason why we're going to do it is because this is the greatest sport. And even though you can go into this thinking, oh, geez, I just lost some guys. And there's always that, I mean, as a coach, I feel like there's always a group of, whenever you see seniors graduate, there's always, man, you wish you had another year or two with those kids. But there's always like one that's just like, man, that kid, if I had one more year with that kid. And I guess you feel like that about all of them. Mm-hmm. Being able to switch that, again, talk about keeping our emotions in check. You want to be able to switch that. Oh man, it's a bummer I don't have him or her anymore. But then the attention gets to be turned on to these junior high kids, which you've got some junior high kids coming up, some that I've trained with on and off, that are going to be real tough. You've got the Green, who's going to be a sophomore, who was the conference champ, sectional champ, I believe, as well.
Yes.
He's got his older brother is a senior coming in. Okay, so you've got some kids. Yeah, here we go, the lawnmower coming in. Well, again, ladies and gentlemen out there, we are a bit at the mercy of the elements here in the Scott Cave. But the good news is, it shouldn't last very long. But even if it does,
it's a beautiful cave that you have here with a beautiful view and beautiful drive in today. But I appreciate our program is going to be kind of young. You mentioned Cody. Cody's going to be a great senior leader for us. I think his brother's going to be a great senior or sophomore leader. And they're
tough
kind of
that kid, man. You talk
super
about
tough.
Grit.
Talk about a match we should have highlighted for the conference tournament. Him versus Jeremiah McKee from Wellington.
That was the match of the tournament.
Yeah, and we were waiting for that match all year. And
by the way, shout out to myself. You watched that Ohio Wrestling Insider. Yeah. When I made that, I edited all the matches separately.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That was the one. I kid you not. The music I put behind it, it teared me up because I knew the impact of that match and how. And I remember, and of course I'm doing a job because I'm here to record it. But I remember as I was editing it, watching, man, packed. If that would have been a packed gym,
right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean,
and McKee, you talk about a kid that's tough. I mean,
he's a super great kid too.
Really.
I just saw him Sunday at the freestyle state duels we were at, and he's just a really nice kid. But I mean, I kind of downplayed that match for Tristan. I was like, hey, this kid's a Division III kid. He's really tough, and it's just for fun, And
sure.
I think that sometimes you got to look at some matches that way, but. Yeah, you were talking about our junior high kids. You trained Jonathan Gould quite a bit.
Yeah.
He's a kid just like Ryan Healy, who if you tell him there's a workout within a 30-mile radius, he's just going to go.
And you can't, as a coach, what more can you ask for? You know what I mean? Just the ability to be molded, the ability to. I mean, taking that information and processing is great, but are you going to show up?
Yes.
First and foremost, are you going to be there?
Yeah.
I've lost track of how many kids from. Younger than junior high, all the way up to adults. Mm-hmm. If you're a professional, I've had professional athletes. It's like you got to sit there and pull their arms to get them to come work out. And again, for anybody out there,
probably in the wrong profession.
Right. If you, I don't care what sport you're into. You can call this brown nosing, whatever. But if you want to get results from your coach, show up on time. Period. If you want your coach to care, then you will be there on time and you'll be prepared. That's it. I don't think that's asking very much, but it's surprising how few kids do that. So when hearing that, he's my experience. He's a good kid. And,
he's a great kid.
Parents care, and that makes a big deal.
In addition to that, something that I preach to our guys is just like, if you say you're going to do something, do it. And Jonathan, he's just totally committed to the sport. And I don't know if you ever met his sister, Lydia. She recently started coming.
Younger sister?
Older sister. So she's a sophomore now.
I think maybe because I was.
You might have met her, but you probably didn't practice with her.
No,
because she just started like March 30th or whatever. So we took a couple weeks off after the state tournament. They had spring break, and then I told her, I was like, hey, why don't we get started with you right now? And So she's another one that comes to everything. Ryan Healy's dad, he kind of runs our strength and conditioning program, and I run the wrestling side of things. And the Goulds just come to everything. They're awesome. And
well, you said it before. If you don't have, you have the parents there. And there's a running theme here. If you don't have a structure at home, you can give these kids all the guidance and all the knowledge and all the discipline and everything in the world, but if they're going home to chaos, you're not going to get results, or at least not going to get the best results that you can.
It's a lot harder. It's a lot harder, and the kids who don't have the structure at home, sometimes they need it more.
Right.
They need the wrestling more. They need the extra practices. They need the time away from home. They need to stay at the school as long as possible.
Yeah.
And but we're fortunate that the Goulds, they're awesome. They take their kids everywhere. They make sure that they're at the practices. They make sure that they're keeping them humble too.
Well, really that's good. Important, and that's why they're going to have the results that they have. Yeah. If you're, again, the idea of chaos in one room and then peace in the other, and you're trying to walk that line, it's going to be very, very difficult to do. So, and again, that just credit back to what you have there in your program. So, for you and the kids and those parents out there, that's why I get ready, because Thunder Live is coming back, and we are going to really have some fun. And you've got one conference champ returning, or two. You have 3 finalists, I think, that are coming back.
I have 2 conference champs coming back, and then 2 finalists coming back. So Cody Green and Connor Fitzgerald both were runner-ups, and Devin Mayer won a pretty tough bracket, where any of those guys
I've been hearing from his dad quite a bit about that.
Any of those guys could have taken 4th.
He's a good guy. He's a character.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And then it was just Devin's day that day, but and then the other guys.
He wrestled a hell of a tournament.
He did. Yeah, it was fun. He's
a freshman as well.
He's a sophomore.
Sophomore. Okay.
Yeah, so he's one of those guys that we got to kind of coax into the training process. We gotta make him remember why he's there and remember why he loves wrestling, because he really does, even though sometimes he says he doesn't. But he when he puts up his straps and when he gets his ready to put his foot on the line, that's when everything is just in place.
He switches.
Yeah. So some guys are the opposite. They're practice room wrestlers. Devin is not that. He is, when the lights are down, when Thunder Live's there, that's when Devin's going to go the hardest.
And that's a tell. That we say it all the time. If you can, I said it a little bit ago, some of the best matches I've ever seen were in the practice room. But maybe it was because there weren't those eyeballs on you.
Right.
When you bust your butt all day for years, and again, you got to go out there in a singlet or even in the 2-piece, which isn't much more than your underwear, and you got to go out there and you got to more or less fight this guy or this girl with your bare hands. And if a case in point, if you're in the finals and there's 2,000 people in that gym, there are potentially 4,000 eyeballs on you.
Right.
Now, some adults can't handle that.
Right.
But then, like you said, there are some kids and some adults that I've seen in the practice room, you see them and be like, okay, maybe that guy's in shape or that girl's in shape. But then when you see them perform, it's like, holy cow. But then you see the certain athletes that whether they're in the practice room or it's the main event of a pay-per-view, they're going to see something special.
Right.
And that's where you'll get guys like we talked about, like the Michael Chandlers, the guy who he could have went to a D2 college and walked down to Missouri, and what did he do? Made himself an All-American.
Yeah, I was supposed to wrestle him.
No kidding.
When I was at Ohio State, so I went to Hofstra for 4 years, and I ended up I was going to be a 41-pounder for life, and my true freshman year, I grew out of that real quick, and ended up being 57 and 65. And I finished my last year at Hofstra at 165, and then when they brought me in Ohio State, they're like, oh, we want you down to 57. I was like, great, let's go 57. And so I'm getting ready, and our first duel is going to be against Missouri, Michael Chandler, and I think he might have been a sophomore. And a couple of days before it, our 57 pounder got hurt, or our 65 pounder got hurt. I was the 57, and so they asked me to go 65 for the rest of the year. So I got to wrestle Matt Powell, which was. He's a guy cutting down. He was an All-American at 184 pounds, cutting down to 65. I'm coming up from 57.
So you were basically out. Oh,
well, yeah, I mean, I weighed in like 163 because I changed my whole body. You know,
right,
you got to do that for college wrestling. It's an hour weigh-in. You know,
so that's what a lot of the kids don't understand is college wrestling. It ain't fun. You know what I mean? It's just not high school. Well, at least the high school wrestling can be there's a lot of work and things, but. And one thing, you're a few years younger than me, but you know, when we were coming up, you'd see kids 2-3 sports superstars in high school, and then you see kids in college, very rare, more than one sport.
Absolutely.
Now I very rare see kids in high school with more than one sport. At least that's what I'm experiencing now.
Yeah, the small schools, you know, Keystone is a great example. You know, if you're an athlete of the year at Keystone, you know, you have to play multiple sports. You know, our school needs it. Wellington needs it. You know, you have to do football, track, and wrestling. You know, or basketball.
Oh, we all did.
You know, right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we played football, we wrestled, and then we ran. I don't know what it's like now, but in junior high. One thing that didn't make any sense to me is we had a hell of a baseball team. But in junior high, you didn't even let us play baseball. It was either track or nothing in the spring. Now, granted, this was 100 years ago when I was in junior high.
It might still be like that.
I don't know. There was no baseball available until you got to high school, which, quite frankly, that made my decision to stop playing baseball. And I was just sharing this a little bit ago that although I had success as a wrestler and I had success as a wrestling coach, the sport that I was probably best at was baseball.
Wow.
I was a hell of a baseball player. I really was. And quite frankly, the reason why I feel that I kept wrestling instead of just playing baseball was my best friend Jason Hartman. You know, when I talked to when I had Dan Sumter on here, you know, he was first state champ that Wellington had. By the way, went to Hofstra.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that's where he went. So that tugs at me a little bit when I hear that. I started wrestling in elementary school because I was friends with him, and I kept wrestling in junior high because I was friends with him, and he was a baseball player too. If he would have decided to play baseball, I probably would have done that. Would I mean, who knows? Right. Things would change dramatically, but yeah, you know, it was the 2 to 3 sport athletes. I don't see that much anymore. Like I'll see it in the MMA world, where the only sport through junior high and college that can prepare somebody for that is wrestling. But I'm seeing kids that they'll wrestle for their school, and then they'll box, or they'll take jiu-jitsu, or they'll kickbox at fill in the blank MMA school or martial arts school. So I'll see some cross training like that. But as far as I play football, I wrestle, and I play baseball, or I run track, I don't see there's some. I don't see that much anymore. Definitely not in college, though, for sure.
Right.
And part of the reason why you go to college, that's your job.
Right.
You know, if you were on a scholarship, I remember when Jay went to Hofstra, that was one thing that he shared with me before he got sick was, man, they're cracking the whip when you get there, because if they're paying for you to go to school, so it's
you gotta love it.
Well, of course.
You gotta love it. You know. And you were talking about 2 sport athletes. We have a girl on our team. We only had one girl on our team this year, Emily Jurasic, and she came from the combat world, so she was doing boxing and stuff. And she told me that the first day of school, and she wasn't wrestling ever, and I said, oh yeah, you do boxing? Would you want to do wrestling? She said no, and then had more conversations with her parents and stuff, and then she said, yeah, maybe I'll check it out. So she finished her volleyball season, and now she's only wrestling, and she is still doing the boxing stuff as well, which she's really into.
Good. Well, Sage O'Brien.
Yeah, Sage O'Brien.
I've been training her on and off.
Yeah, what are you doing with her?
Well, when I met her, I was doing just one-on-one wrestling. This was 4 years ago.
In her basement?
No, that was at Inner Circle in Wellington.
Okay.
She would come there, and I met her through her parents. They reached out to me to do some one-on-one stuff. It was new for her. She hadn't been competing at all. And it was mainly wrestling. And of course, when I'm dealing with somebody the first time they're on the mat, all you do is work on position, how to stand, basic stuff, hand fight. But she picked it up right away.
Yeah.
She has a great barrel roll. She was able to just more than, and again, running theme here, she would show up.
Right.
And she would work.
Yes.
But,
she loves it.
Yeah. And in the last couple of years, I've been spending time, her parents reached out to me. I've been going to her basement and we've been more or less kickboxing.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's
I see pictures of sometimes.
Oh, I have a.
You get the mean face and the fist going, you know.
Oh, she's a character. But make no mistake. I mean, when I give her instructions, she'll apply it.
Yes.
And when I use her as an example, because when people want to learn self-defense, a lot of times, they'll go to a taekwondo school or a traditional martial arts school, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
When I get around somebody, and this happened to me a lot when I was in college, I get around somebody that came from a taekwondo background, and I kind of shit on them and say, okay, what are you going to do when you're on your back?
Right. Folk style wrestling.
Right.
Man, I mean, I'm coaching freestyle and Greco right now, but folk style wrestling is about control.
Oh, the bottom line, if you've never had a real wrestler hit a power double and put you on your back,
yeah,
you don't know what that's like.
Correct.
And you're not going to get up.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something I explain to people is when I'm teaching self-defense, I'm always going to get into wrestling and grappling first. And the reason why, but I'll say this in class, is if you throw a hood over my head, but I can grab your arm, I don't need to see.
Mm-hmm.
I know where the rest of you is. That's all I need.
Blind people wrestle.
Right, of course, and have a lot of success.
Yes.
I went to the state tournament this year. So it's when you think of it that way, and when you think of it when somebody gets attacked on the street, either by one-on-one or usually it's a group, and again, when people are attacking people on the street, it's never, this guy looks like he's tough, let's go take him out. It's predator and prey.
Right.
So if you want to learn how to defend yourself, then you need to know what to do when somebody grabs you, period. Mm-hmm. The beauty of that, even if that attacker is bigger, stronger, younger, more athletic than you get your arms around their throat, doesn't matter.
Right.
They're not going to hurt you. So Sage is a great example of that because I've taught her a little bit of submission stuff, but very minimal. Basically, at this point, it's about, let's use your word, position. She can punch and kick, sure, but she'll take you to the ground and beat you up there too. And the thing that I love about her and a lot of these younger kids is you would never guess it.
No.
If you saw her walking around the classroom, you would never guess.
Little shy girl.
Right.
Yep.
You would never guess that even at this point now, she could probably thrash some of the boys in her school if she wanted to.
Yeah, she's going to be the leader on our middle school team next year.
Oh,
I don't know if she knows it yet, but she's another one, like I said, like Jonathan. She comes to everything, and she knows all the moves. And
again, credit
great
that
attitude.
With good parents at home that are very supportive of. She's
For
got
sure.
a younger brother that's wrestling now too. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So he was wrestling about the time when Sage started, and then I got to just keep bugging at Xander a little bit. Yeah.
Well, when siblings, and again, this gets into some of the psychology stuff. When a younger sibling sees an older sibling have success, that can inspire,
right?
Or it can go the other way.
Yeah.
Hopefully, again, because they have a good family and good structure there. But I mean, no matter what, I'm sure they're gonna come out ahead and do great. But of course, I'm always gonna be biased. I just want more kids to wrestle.
Me too.
And Sage is a great kid and great family, and I look forward to watching. And after what I saw Olivia do this year, that has to be inspiring. Because what Olivia did, Olivia Shore, again, shout out to her, first girl to make it to the boys state tournament and place.
Yes.
Now she did it in D3. Nobody's done it in D2 yet.
No. Right.
So use that as motivation
for
her. And I will be rooting for her and hopefully, working with her a little bit from time to time and here on out. That and again, it gets back into when you lead by example and you get the results that you get, and most importantly, you have the work ethic that you have, and you have the morality and you are the man that you are. That will just success breeds success. And when you emulate, again, the coaches and the mentors that you had, those kids are going to emulate you.
Unbelievable mentors.
Right, and that's what made us who we are.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that structure, we didn't have those coaches there. But what I'm getting at is, if you would have growing up on the mat with chaos at home and or at practice, you would not be sitting here right now. You wouldn't be sitting here wearing a Keystone wrestling shirt.
Right.
So at the risk of sounding redundant, if you don't have that base and that structure in the practice room and at home, then even all the talent in the world, you're not going to get results.
No, you're right.
So it's awesome to see, you know, these younger kids coming up. I look forward to watching them kick some butt.
Yeah, me too.
And I say the same thing to Wellington. Of course, that's where I grew up, and it's kind of cool for me, more or less, kind of being this free agent guy, where I can float from school to school and give my 2 cents or train when coaches actually reached out to me, and Coach Sedlick from Avon Lake reached out to me over the summer last year to train some kids, and I'll always be there for that. I kind of like not being tied into a school at the moment, but make no mistake, I'm open.
That was my dad. You know, I don't know. You know, my dad recently passed away from ALS, but his coaching career. You know, he never had a head job like you. He never was a paid assistant coach. He was always a volunteer coach from, you know, the time I was way before I was born. He was at North Royalton High School, and I was even there when I was very little. And then he coached, you know, all these other teams in my youth program, St. Raphael and Bay Village and Lutheran West, and just kind of bounces around. And then you know, eventually you know, he was a big staple at Eagle Club. I don't know if you remember Eagle Club. We had the St. Ed's Wrestling Club where throughout the summer, and he would just coach every single person in the room, and you know, he'd go to a tournament and he'd coach every person on the mat, and you know, it's just really fun. My dad really just loved wrestling and loved sharing wrestling. It sounds like you're the same.
Well, and thank you, but yeah, it's if you don't have that, if there's not a passion in our, I mean, the reason why our sport breeds the success and the results it does is because it's so damn hard.
Right.
It's hard. What we do is hard. And the idea that sometimes you got to get up when it's dark and you got to train, and then by the time you go home after you've gone to school and trained and then gone to another workout, you go home and it's dark again. If you don't love that, you're gonna fail.
It's hard not seeing the sunlight.
Right, it is.
We got to deal with it.
It is. We
Right.
joke about it. You know, just like in high school, our tagline was all guts, no glory. And the 4 years I was in high school, we placed in the state tournament in the top 5 all 4 years I was there.
That's pretty cool.
So, and that was also where we didn't call it Thunder Live. And so we introduced, you know, the lighting show and stuff. And again, the reason why we did that then, and when in the late 90s when Wellington was having success with some of the kids they had in there, I came back and did it then. The reason why I did it is because the teams were good. You know, and again, when I'm coming to do an event for, you know, 2 teams taking each other, come in as a third party, that's on you guys, you know, to have the teams be good.
Sure.
As long as the matches are good. So, but I told the kids at Wellington, like, you know, if you guys were 0-7 and you get smashed in every match, why would I draw attention to that? You know, but you guys, even if you just have minimal success, but they had a tough team. So again, to be clear, you know, doing the Thunder Live show, I'll take it to anywhere, to any match, as long as you know the matches are going to be good. But when I get around, you know, a structured program that has results and has plans for the future, how things are, those are the programs that I want to promote more than anything else, of course.
Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know we're getting pressed on time here, so we're gonna wrap things up here real quick. But again, before we do, we want to be able to make sure that everybody, you know, Keystone High School. I'm going to be posting some links and stuff from here about. You have the wrestling camp coming up, right?
Yep, June 1, 2, and 3. I know a lot of schools are still going to be in session, but Keystone will be out. So, you know, I'm focusing on the youth wrestlers in our community, as well as the middle school and high school in our community. So we're going to kind of have like an all-day thing where it'll be a youth camp in the morning. The high school guys will be helping out. I'll be running that, and then we'll all kind of hang out. We'll eat some lunch, and then the middle school and high school guys will go to the second session. Well, I'll have 3 college coaches. I'll have Josh Malave, who just became the head coach at Case Western.
Yep.
I'll have Josh Moore, who's the head coach at Cleveland State, and Colt Sponseller, who him and I actually got to roll around a little bit at Ohio State. He's the head coach at Ashland.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is there a web page or a link or something?
Yeah, I'll send you a flyer. We can put it up right now.
Right about here. And then, of course, I'll have some links here on YouTube as well. And so anybody that has any, I don't know if there's any email or any numbers, anything you want to give out, or just have the link, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, my email is christopher.vondruska@keystoneschools.org. You can send me an email, christopher.vondruska, keystoneschools.org. And I'll send you the flyer.
Cool.
But yeah, it's June 1, 2, and 3. In the morning will be youth, and the afternoon will be high school. So if you're in high school and you go to Wellington and you're out and you want to get some great clinicians, just hit me up and
that's awesome.
We'll get you in the camp.
So if anybody out there, if you're, again, LaGrange is where Keystone's located, is in central area of Lorain County. But if you're in the Northeast Ohio area and you're able to make it out there, definitely come check it out. Again, great program. You have some great coaches that are going to be there. It's awesome.
For sure.
Definitely, again, in our sport, if you want to have success, like we were saying before, part of when you are a multi-sport athlete, that means you're taking time off from wrestling. If you're going to have success as a wrestler now, you have to wrestle year-round.
You
period. If you want to be a state champion or to be a state qualifier or to be on that level, barring the kids with the crazy off-the-chart genetics that you'll get, usually at heavyweight, some of those kids will come in as a senior and just smash everybody.
Yeah.
But to be a consistent, successful wrestler, you have to wrestle year-round. That's the way to do it. So that's awesome. You guys are getting the jump on the camp for the summer right off the bat. So cool.
We take a week off, for spring break after the state tournament or whatever, and then we have, some guys taking weeks off for summer, they go on vacation, whatever, but other than that, we try to get on the mat at least two, three times a week. I mean, right now we're training 4 days a week we're going to Indiana this weekend for the regional freestyle tournament.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then the week after that, we're going to go to the state tournament at Ohio Northern. So we got 4 or 5 guys going to every single freestyle tournament. And it's a really, really great spring that we've been having. So it's awesome.
Keep that grind up, man. That's what it's all about.
Have to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, well, do you have a date for the Brunswick match yet? If you don't know it offhand, that's okay.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Don't worry.
We'll put it right here.
It's gonna be right here.
That's right.
That's when, if you're in the area and you want to see something really special for high school wrestling, and I can't stress this enough, if you've never been to a high school wrestling match, this is the one to come to. I promise you.
Yeah, the difficult part of it's probably during a weekday and it's probably during the day. So, unless you're crazy like me and you're probably working. But we're going to have some great video for sure taken. We might have a live broadcast. But yeah, if you can come, that would be great because all our student body is going to be there. The dance team's going to perform. The band is going to perform. The cheerleaders are going to be on the mat. It's going to be.
And I've got an idea on how we can integrate all of that into my show. Like this is something, especially when you told me about that, it was an inspiration, by the way.
Cool.
So this is going to be something really special. And again, when we do these Thunder Live shows, I want it to be like that. I want to integrate with the school, with the dance team, with the parents, with the cheerleaders, with the band, because we're there to not just promote the greatest sport in the world. I want to promote your school.
Yeah.
Because if somebody sees your school and they like that, and if they most importantly like your program and like the results that you have, maybe they want to come to Keystone.
Right.
So there's always ulterior motives, things that we want to do, but most importantly, come on out, check out this match. It's going to be awesome. Most importantly, you're going to see some great wrestling, have a lot of fun, and again, I can't thank you enough for coming on. But before you go, we do have our top 5 of the day.
Top 5.
Now, I'm saying it varies every time, but this one, of course, is going to be appropriate. And I swear, I didn't plan this out.
All right, sounds good. And while you're pulling that up, just let me, give you a shout out. Thanks again for having me here. Thanks again for all you do. Thanks for training my guys. Thanks for putting on great shows. Thanks for all you do for wrestling. It's awesome.
Well, you just gave me goosebumps, man. I mean, I appreciate that. it's an honor, and I love the sport. And one thing that Joe Bachmore and I talked about when he was in here is the greatest thing is, you're known as a dirty, rotten wrestler or a dirty, rotten cage fighter or whatever. There's some great people in combat sports.
Absolutely.
And when I get to have the opportunity to sit down and talk to more great people, that's awesome for me.
Yeah, Joe's another one, great one. What an awesome guy.
You talk about passion.
For sure. Yeah, he's been in my room a few times and trained some of the guys in the weight room. I gotta get more guys with Joe for sure.
Joe's just a special guy, for sure. Mm-hmm. All right, so here we go. Today's top 5. Top 5 reasons to wrestle in high school. Number 5.
That is awesome.
So that's today's top 5.
Love it.
It's again, I want to thank Chris for coming in. It's again, it's an honor, it's all mine to have more good people come in here, and keep your eyes and ears out there for everything. Of course, we have all the links, everything that's coming up here. It's going to be an awesome season coming up. Anything else you want to add before you go?
No, thanks so much. It was a blast for sure.
Awesome, my pleasure. Thank you.
All right.